She's about 5 fists. Anyway, welcome.
That's it. You can introduce it now. Right, welcome back to All Stars Podcast. As always, sponsored by Amazing Green. We are going to get some more stuff to put on the table. Danny, have you actually got the CBD oil? Is it over there?
He's probably used it all.
What's Amazing Green?
So Amazing Green are
Tell me about this.
The CBD oil company that's sponsored us pretty much from day one, actually. A local guy. He supports a lot of fighters. He supports Danny, the gym, Rico, the BKB champ you just met out there.
Yep.
And they've supported this podcast from pretty early days, to be honest. Without them, we probably would have gone under in early days.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good stuff. It's like they get it from America. They've got all their own testing stuff. So what they did is they bought loads of the CBD that's like getting advertised, tested it, and most of it was just like metal mixed with water, shit like that. So,
well, I saw somewhere they did a load of testing, and some of these brands have like 10 times more THC in it than they're allowed to have. They're literally just selling illegal stuff as CBD.
Yeah, this is fully legal. It does smell illegal.
But it's made of the same plant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very, very poor.
But that's it. You need a high quality stuff. You know what you're getting.
Yeah. And so there's a good sponsor for us. They've sponsored a lot of the fighters out of the gym, like I said, Rico, and they've actually now adopted it into a revenue stream for the fighters as well. So I think 50% of sales goes to the fighter.
Oh wow!
So they put a picture of them on the bottle.
Yeah,
so there's different fighters on different bottles. So if you buy one of them, it's 50% of the profit from that would go to the fighter, which is pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
so it's
really cool.
It's just a good partner for us, isn't it?
It's like an affiliation for the athletes.
Yeah, nice, So they can sell CBD to the friends with a picture of them on it. It's something a little bit different, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's class.
Just need some of me on it now.
For your comeback, Vale Tudo fight.
Yeah.
Go on then, introduce our guest, Mr. Mitchell.
Okay. Today we're joined by Hodger Gracie Black Belt, Polaris Quintet, ADCC veteran, and master practitioner of grip strength, Mr. Dan Strauss.
I try.
Fucking hell, some of the stuff I see you doing, it's fucking crazy.
Well, I saw you on Instagram the other day with a Deontay Wilder weight jacket on. You had a kettlebell in your teeth, and you were like doing pull-ups. I'm like, who's this guy? What's going on here?
Someone memed it and was just like, when you watch Joe Rogan once.
And just a stem cell shot straight after.
That's the thing I don't have. That's the thing that I need. I need the stem cells. That's going to make it a lot easier.
Don't get him started on stem cells.
Good or bad? Thumb up or down? Good. Yeah.
The answer to all things for Danny is stem cells and heel hooks.
I believe it. Maybe not the heel hooks, but the stem cells for sure. Yeah.
There were a guy at gym over there who had that. Is it called Regenikine, where they spin your blood and then?
So the high plasma.
Yeah. So he got it done like in Leeds or some shit. I thought you had to like go to different countries for that.
I think it's PRP.
Yeah, that's like rich stuff though. That's like having 5% CBD and when really you should be having some proper THC oil. Don't fuck about with like weak stuff.
It's better than nothing, right? It's better.
Wait, what is that? What is this?
It's plasma rich. It's platelet rich plasma.
That's the one, yeah.
And it's just meant to help with healing.
All right.
Yeah.
So basically, they take your blood out, put it in a centrifuge so it separates, all the plasma separates, and they put that into a solution so it grows like overnight. So there's a lot more plasma.
TJ Dillashaw had one in his garage.
TJ Dillashaw has a lot in his garage.
And they added some other things to that as well.
They can take TJ Dillashaw's blood and recreate that and sell that as steroids.
It's like fucking Jurassic Park in there.
Well, what is it? What's the line? Too busy to see whether we could to work out whether we should.
While we're on about TJ Dillashaw,
okay.
Have you seen the name of his new company?
I was about to say that.
You couldn't make this shit up.
It's a juice bar called Juice Bar, isn't it? Or something like that.
Is it called Clean?
Clean Juice Bar. Clean Juice. Do you know what? You got to take ownership of it. You got to roll with the punches. Get in front of the story.
Did he open that before or he got caught?
That's like recently, I think about 3 weeks ago. Clean Juice, it's called.
You know what? His juice is probably very clean.
Yeah, it's top quality.
It will be now, won't it?
Yeah. Or he spelled clen wrong. That's what he meant to say.
Train hard, eat clean. Shit. So let's.
How do we get on that?
Fucking hell, God knows.
Can I ask my first question?
Go on.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
So your nickname's the Rasberry Ape.
Yeah.
Right, and I've already listened to a new podcast, so I know that you said you've got these over elaborate reasons for why you called that, even though you just like raspberries. That was what.
You ruined it for the listeners.
I want one of the elaborate explanations for the nickname. So you must have some good ones.
Yeah.
So can you just lie to us face? Tell us a good story. Come on.
Well, it's too. You've ruined it now. You've given the spoiler.
No, come on.
The spoiler. The one that I tell the most at the moment is I basically tell the. Okay, so I'll tell the story and you'll work out where it's from. I won't give the spoiler, even though we spoiled it a little bit. The story goes that when I was 3 years old, I was in a zoo. Mischievous child, used to try and get away from my parents a lot. Ended up falling inside a gorilla enclosure. Okay, the gorilla comes over to see what's going on. Has a look at me. I'm lying there, sort of pretty dazed by the long fall. Everyone starts freaking out, thinking this gorilla's going to rip me to pieces, and they run off to get the gun. Tranquilizer's not going to work. They got to shoot this gorilla. They're going to kill this gorilla. And just before they do, a quick thinking member of the crowd who was eating some raspberries throws the raspberries in, not knowing, just coincidentally, raspberries were the favorite treat of this gorilla. The gorilla sees the raspberries, runs over there, giving the wardens enough space and time to pull me out of there without shooting the gorilla, therefore saving the gorilla. And that moment stuck with me. And when I was asked the name, I said the Raspberry Ape in homage. Of course, that's a... Thank you. Come on, that's a simple one. So that's an adaptation. So some people, obviously, that's the Harambe story, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's a sort of multiverse retelling of the Harambe story, and some people clock onto it, and some people are like, wait a minute. Now, there's three sort of people. One, they have no idea, and they're hearing this story for the first time. They've never heard of Harambe, which is a crime in itself. May he rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. We shouldn't do the other thing on that you do for Harambe, because the cameras are rolling, but you don't know what that is. Okay. People who know the Harambe story, well, they'll know what I'm talking about. You can do the research afterwards.
Pull it up.
Don't pull it up. That's part of the problem. So first is people who don't know the story and they're like, really? Oh my God, this is so ridiculous that you couldn't be making it up. Second, people going, I've heard something like this. Oh my God, is that you? And then third, people of, this is the Harambe story, you're full of shit. So there's a combination of different things going on there.
That was an amazing story, though, to be fair.
That's a simple one. There were way more ridiculous ones. Yeah, there was one where my great-great-grandfather, and people, smart people who realize that I'm lying, they'll try and find flaws in the story. The point is that the story is littered with flaws. It's so ridiculous that,
Yeah, but you say it so convincingly.
But that's it. You got to sell it. Yeah. You got to sell it, and it would get to the stage where people were believing it. I just keep on getting more ridiculous every single time, and people, on my EBI countdown. There was a podcast or some countdown show, and they were talking about me, and they said something about my grandfather fighting in the war, which was a made up story. It was he was fighting in Vietnam using guerrilla tactics and his use of grappling to sort of get past the enemy to rescue the Prime Minister of Switzerland's brother, and the reason it was called Operation Raspberry was that he was the chief importer of raspberries to all of Switzerland, and since he'd been captured by the Vietnam people, not a single raspberry had been imported to Switzerland in all those years. So they sent my great-great-grandfather to Vietnam to rescue him, and then when he got him back, they named him. They gave him the keys to the city, and they named him the Raspberry Ape, and then that is a title that has been passed down through the firstborn son of the firstborn son ever since.
That's quality.
But again, another fictitious
I wish
story.
it were true.
I know. But had you just asked my nickname and not told him already that it was going to be a lie, I would have given you one.
I think what's even funnier...
I really would have sold you one.
Would you? Oh, fuck. Right, just cut that. I'll start again. I think what's going to be funnier is the people that jumped on that halfway through, listening to this story, they'll be like, what is going on here?
We can edit that and make it just a clip of itself, can't we?
Totally,
yeah.
Did you ever watch that program where like celebrities used to just talk and they used to have to choose whether it were like a true or false?
Would I lie to you?
Yeah, would I lie to you? And Bob Mortimer used to come out with the most ridiculous stories. So it just come out with his tale and it'd be ridiculous, and then it'd always be true.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be so ridiculous. You know what I mean?
It's in from Shooting Stars, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quality.
But very often people, the more ridiculous something is that you say, the more likely people are to believe you. They kind of default to truth for the most part. Not that I'm saying that, you know, the best way to lie to someone is to make it so ridiculous that no one will believe you. But, you know, there's a certain thing where people will default to truth for the most part.
That story was amazing, though, to be fair. Like, it's just...
The Harambe one.
The Harambe one.
Yeah.
Because it was... I was like... The way you told that story, I was convinced. Like, I wanted to... I believe it.
Yeah. Well, there was... You know what? There was actually... The Harambe happened... Oh, I really should know this. Harambe was maybe...
Ask Danny, he'll get
4 or 5 years ago.
I feel like it was longer.
2000, maybe 2015. Check here. See my Harambe knowledge. Typing in Harambe should be. When did he die?
2016.
16, yeah, I thought so. 15, 16.
May 28th.
Yeah. So there we go. You know, it's a very important day.
Coming up to anniversary.
But there was, so, you know, my story is off the Harambe story, but there actually was another story that happened many years ago that could realistically have been me.
Okay.
So I think I'm going to start telling this one. It's a very similar story, but the gorilla doesn't get shot. So you take out some of the drama and sort of that you know, and obviously not as popular a story where some kid climbs into a gorilla enclosure. They really should start securing these gorilla enclosures. They keep on highly susceptible to toddlers for some strange reason. So another kid fell in and was knocked out, and this female gorilla came up and didn't hurt it and looked after it and kind of almost nursed it back. Not back to health.
Started suckling on its tit, and then next thing.
But it looked after it, and they got the kid out fine. And I'm thinking of telling that story because then I can say
basically Tarzan.
Because then I can say Google it. I can say Google what Cincinnati Zoo or whatever 1992 or whatever it was, and then really I have that second layer of convincing. So I think I might start doing that.
I reckon you can get away with it because there's only about 4 people listening to this podcast, and 2 of them are sat outside. So
yeah, perfect.
I think you can run with that one.
Okay,
you're not going to get found out from our audience.
From now on, that's what I'm going to do. I'll check back in with you and let you know how it's going.
I need to create some more stories for my nickname.
The cheesecake
instead of telling the truth.
Is it because you love cheesecake?
Right, come on, now's your chance. Come on.
Yeah, go on.
It's good. So he started acting. Danny Mitchell has started acting as well.
I finished my film yesterday.
Finished his film.
Oh yeah, I did see that you're doing.
So he's now working on his improv.
Okay,
so this is his time.
Oh,
we'll build up the suspense some more.
Shaky start.
Where's your clackerboard?
It's out there.
Action.
Yeah.
What's my motivation?
He's just asked you a question and you need to answer it.
Should be enough motivation.
I need a good story. Yeah, I just like eating cake.
So you're not acting's not for you.
That's the best you came out with there. That's not your strong point.
Well, why are you telling the real? So telling the actual story of the cheesecake assassin.
The real story. People have heard it loads of times, but the real story is I made weight for a fight.
Yeah. Okay.
The other guy's not made weight yet, so he's jogging around and he's got his sauna suit on. And so I sent one of my mates, said, listen, get to the shop, just get me a big fucking cake and I'll eat it while I'm sat here. So he's like, yeah, cool. Yeah, so I've just weighed in as well. This is like bad nutrition. Don't do this if you're fighting.
This is someone that used to have Maltesers for breakfast.
Yeah,
this is someone who has exchanged smart fight preparation for the mental warfare.
Yes.
You thought, this is not going to make me feel good, but I'm really going to get into this guy's head.
Yeah,
I hope this pays off. Did it pay off?
And it did.
There you go.
So he brought in it. It just happened to be a cheesecake. It was like semi-frozen as well. But I thought, fuck it, I've got to do it. So I do like cheesecake. So I started eating it, and they said, right. So he's running around, and I'm just eating it like just to take the piss. And then they say, right, we need to interview you. I say, cool.
You carry on eating there.
So I start eating it, and they're asking me about training, and I just thought, every interview that a fighter ever gets is the same. How's training been?
Yeah.
What do you think of your opponent? Mm-hmm. What have you been doing? It's like the same generic questions. So I thought, fuck this. I'm just gonna like put it out there. So they come over, they're like, oh, how's training going? I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
Training's going shit. I've barely trained for this. Barely. And they're like, oh, right. And I'm like, I've really struggled to make weight. I've just been eating shit. You know, I'm eating this cake now. And then at that point, I think I throw the spoon away. I had like a plastic spoon. I throw that and I just start just shoveling it in with my hands. And they were like, so how did you make weight? I said, oh, well, I just, you know, I go out, I go to nightclubs and I just fucking dance. You know, maybe take some drugs and I just dance and sweat.
You joke, but I know people who legitimately do that to make weight. Yeah, no, so like genuinely, I was told, I did a training session with, oh, Jesus Christ, I've forgotten his name now. He was like an old school UFC fighter. But anyway, his coach, it's probably better I don't name their name.
I was about to say, it's probably good that you forgot.
Yeah, so that's convenient. His coach, we did a training session with, and he was like, yeah, when I want to make weight, I just go out and I just fucking rave.
Yeah.
Just party hard for until 3 a.m, and you've lost 5 kilos, 6 kilos easy. And you got some cardio in.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So I have done that, Donny Warehouse. It's fucking great. Basically, people shadowbox. Doncaster Warehouse, people
Really?
are shadowboxing. You can go in there in a tracksuit, vest, nobody bats an eyelid.
Really?
Yeah, and literally it's just shadowboxing.
Why?
It's just,
Why?
it's just,
This is just how they
it's
dance,
just a
or?
rough place.
Really?
Yeah, honestly. It's
You know what I mean? Have you not?
It's just a rough. I tell you,
What's it called? Donny Warehouse?
Doncaster Warehouse. It is just like so, you know.
Okay.
You know Kamatakuru, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
So Cam,
That's
if
what
you're
he goes,
listening,
Cam
he's watching.
Cam likes wine and cheese parties. That's what Cam likes.
Yeah.
He you know what I mean? He's I think he's posh. Cam is posh. Yeah, a bit like you, Josh.
Posher than Josh, or
Yeah.
So Cam he likes wine bars and cheese platters and nice things. So I had a fight once and I'm like, Cam, you need to come to Donny Warehouse with me. Just observe it. And he's like, yeah, sweet. So it's like out of Doncaster, so you can't easily access it. You've got to like walk over.
You've got to want to go there.
Yeah, you've got to really want to go there.
Motivated.
So you're walking over a massive bridge to get there, and you know, it's just not easily accessible. Like taxis don't really want to drop you off there. It's like that kind of place. See,
it's out way at police.
It's actually next to the jail in Doncaster.
That makes it easy.
Yeah. So you get in there. It's just a warehouse. There's no sign on it or anything. It's just the fire exit door. You knock on the door opens. We walk in. We pay or whatever. And there's just this music, this fucking just bass, just like boom, boom, boom. And then people just shadowboxing. Everyone's in tracksuits. We walk in and just some guy. He's obviously just had a lot of ketamine. He's just like sliding down his chair, just like his eyes rolling in his head. And no one's really bothered. He's just kind of doing it. And Cam's like, fuck, what's wrong with that guy? And I'm like, he's just in a kettle, I think, mate. Just leave him to it. And then we're walking.
That's just John. That's how he. That's how
what he
does.
Yeah. And he was like, what? He just couldn't believe it. And then we walk onto the dance floor and there was just some guy like hammering an imaginary nail into a wall, just like hammering. And it's like, this is bizarre.
I need to go here now.
Yeah, and then I said, right, come on, we'll get a drink. So we go to the bar, and it's like mainly water that's on offer.
Sure.
Mainly
stay
water.
hydrated.
And then on the top of the bar is like a Ferrero Rocher pyramid, but not a Ferrero Rocher.
What is it?
Of poppers. Liquid gold. Yeah. Amyl nitrate, so you can have a good. So we got some, and you just
obviously
just join in with the rest of the people. So
when in Rome,
you get on the dance floor, everyone's just shadowboxing, and every now and again there's a slight pause where there's just like inhale some amyl nitrate, and then they're just more dancing. So I had an headache, but we had a really good night. And then I think we walked outside, right, and there was a guy. He looked dead. Rico's with me as well. This guy is just literally. It's like he's on his own. He's under this fucking bridge near a railway. He just looks dead. So we're like, "You all right, mate?"
Was it Cam Atakuru?
Yeah. We've never seen him since. But and it was just like, "Fuck, this guy's just fucked on floor." Like, yeah, just leave me. So like, Jesus. So we walk away from him. Some other guy comes up to us like, "Yeah, do any of you want any stones?" Cam's like, "What do you mean stones?" I'm like, "It means crack cocaine." I'm like, "It's 6 o'clock in the morning, mate. I'm all right. Maybe a few hours."
That was the deciding factor, time.
Yeah, maybe a few hours ago. But
timing's awful. How'd you call me at 3?
Yeah. You don't want to smoke crack cocaine at 6 a.m. It's going to ruin your day.
Right, that's a cliff.
I'm learning so much more already than I thought I would be on this
it's a
podcast.
wonderful place, and I should have tied that into some kind of cheesecake related fact, and that could have been my nickname.
This is our pod. There's no direction. We're just
that would have been much better.
Well, you could say that cheesecake is like a slang word for crack cocaine in Doncaster.
I have actually said that before. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, cheesecake is crack cocaine, and I'm known for smoking it.
Could go as far as assassinating it.
Exactly. I was like the main guy for crack cocaine.
You could turn that the other way and be like, you're the cheesecake assassin. You're trying to clear the streets.
I feel like we need to.
There you go.
I feel like we need to ring Cam up. Can we call Cam? Do you want to call him?
I'll call him, mate. I don't give a fuck. Yeah.
Give me his number.
Wait, has he listened to this? Because it would be
I think he's like it's not
way better if he hadn't listened and we could ask him.
Cam, just drop us a message in Facebook if you watch it.
Type it in. No, we'll ring him.
Yeah, we'll just ring him.
We've got the technical.
If he answers, this is going to be fucking great.
He's got this fancy new mixer, and he just wants to use it to its full capabilities.
Right,
it's a pretty mixer.
That is Cam's number.
Right, hold on.
I hope he answers.
We will ask you questions soon about your career.
Mate, I'm not fussed, man. Like you said, podcasts are always usually the same. It's so far. Well, podcasts usually start with how do you get your nicknames. So far, you're 1 for 1 on that.
Yeah.
Hello, hold on. We're going to connect you. We're on podcast. It's Josh. All right, mate. Hold on. I need to connect you to.
Come on.
Overcomplicated setup here.
Where is it? Broadcaster. There we go.
There we go.
It's flashing.
If it comes through this, that would be pretty cool.
It should work. We've done it before.
Come on, Cam. We're counting on you here.
I'm here. What do you want?
What do you want? Fuck off.
Are you not listening to the podcast?
No, I'm driving to work.
We're live. Cam, we're live now.
Rumor has it you've got a very sexy southerner on the show, haven't you?
Yes.
That is what. That's what I've heard.
Got his little pants on there.
Yeah, he's got very tight pants on. Cam, we were just talking about the day that I took you to Doncaster Warehouse.
Say that again, Donny Warehouse?
Yeah. What did you see when we entered that warehouse? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, it was just after the show. I'd just won my fight, Anna. So you thought, right, I'm taking you out and getting you off your head. So I was like, right, okay. So we walk at this warehouse, and there's just like fucking like just dark places in the room. Like obviously you couldn't really see people. And I turned to my left, and I went, and this kid was just like fucking jaw was hanging over his shoulder. And I just turned to Danny and went, Danny, what's that? He went, Cam. That, my friend, is a kettle.
That's exactly what you said.
Yeah, and we all had some poppers and went home and had a great time, didn't we?
Yeah. The one behind the barmaid. It was like loads of these studs popped up. I said, "What's that? Is that like a drink or a nah, mate? They're poppers then."
It was like a Ferrero Rocher pyramid. That's how I explained it.
Yeah. Oh, good hell.
Right,
anyway, you good?
I'm good, mate. I'm sound. It's all right. It's nice to hear from you.
If when you get to work, give us a ring back and you can jump back on podcast later on. We'll check back in. All right. Later, man.
See you in a bit.
Right. Brilliant. Well, at least you weren't lying. It's pretty accurate.
There you go.
Very similar description.
Quality. Right. So let's try and dial it back to this where we should have really started.
I've got in my head, I've got like the classic 5 questions that everyone asks me. I'm going to see if you ask the same ones.
Like, how did you start in all this bloody grappling business?
Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah, that is.
But no, let's go beyond that.
Yeah,
let's go beyond that. So, like, obviously, you started. At some point, you started doing jiu-jitsu and stuff. But before that, what was life like for you before you discovered jiu-jitsu? Like, what did you do?
Not a lot, I don't think. I started training jiu-jitsu around about 14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
And I really can't remember life before I started jiu-jitsu. Yeah, I kind of knocked about a few different martial arts for a couple of years. Never stayed anywhere for more than a few months or so. I think I was quite a lazy kid. I was never really into sport.
Sounds like me. This sounds like exactly like me. Basically.
I was never really into sport. I didn't like team sports. Got into martial arts. I think I just started, most people have that sort of, they watch Bruce Lee or something like that. I just started getting interested in it. Started reading some books on, samurai culture and, stuff like that, and kung fu and all of that cool stuff. And then started trying martial arts and basically knocked about them until I found jiu-jitsu, and then stuck with that.
Yeah, it's a similar story with me, really. I did different martial arts, and when I found jiu-jitsu, I kind of fucked everything else off. I'm like, this is the one, this is it. This is like the only path that you need.
Yeah, when I started jiu-jitsu, actually, the club that I still train at, which is Mill Hill BJJ, North London, it was Mill Hill Jiu-Jitsu Club, and it was a Japanese jiu-jitsu club.
Traditional,
yeah, traditional jiu-jitsu club. And my instructor, who I'm a Roger Gracie black belt, but I was never taught by Roger. I was taught by Nick Brooks, and Nick Brooks is a Roger Gracie black belt, so that's my lineage there. But Nick Brooks he was a traditional jiu-jitsu black belt, like 4th Dan or something high level there, and he'd been training for many years, and then found Brazilian jiu-jitsu and immediately realized he'd been wasting his time and stopped training Japanese jiu-jitsu. So I would go to class, and there was another instructor there who would teach the Japanese jiu-jitsu, and then Nick and another one of my original instructors, Chris Hearn, would just be rolling around the floor in the corner. I go, what the hell are these guys doing? Like we're doing like block, throw, and these guys are doing some mad shit in the corner there. And I remember someone saying, I said, like, what's that? And they're like, oh, that's the advanced stuff.
That's class. The advanced stuff.
And then about 6 months passed, I was training Japanese jiu-jitsu, and then Nick and the other instructor parted ways, and Nick kept the club and began to turn it and started teaching us some Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And I was like, this shit is something that I want to do.
Yeah.
I never stopped.
It's weird. We spoke about it last week, didn't we? About the traditional like martial arts, because again, I started in traditional martial arts as well, and there becomes a point where you get exposed to jiu-jitsu. So say you're Nick Brooks or whatever, you're a 4th Dan in whatever martial art, and then you find jiu-jitsu, and it's like you're a white belt now, and you've got to kind of throw that away. Really, you've got to kind of say that was.
Well, you should throw it away.
Yeah,
you got a choice, because what happens is you cross paths with jiu-jitsu, and you got to feel it. It's not enough to watch it. You got to feel it. So you roll. You go to jiu-jitsu class, or someone comes to roll with you, and you roll with them, and they're a 70-kilo blue belt, and they treat you like you're a child, throw you around the room, submit you at will, and they don't even break a sweat. And at that point, you got to have a conversation with yourself, and you go one of two ways. You go, I've been training martial arts for the last 10 years, and it had absolutely no use to me whatsoever in this situation. This martial art that this guy has been training for a year and is already able to defeat me easily, this is some next level shit. I need to get good at that. Or you go, I've been training for 10 years in this other martial art. I'm just going to ignore what happened, and I'm going to continue the training.
And just go down that. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Like, just go down that rabbit hole deeper. And be like, what we're doing, we can't use it. In MMA or on the street, it's too deadly or whatever.
Until you unlock full chi power and can throw people across rooms.
But even when you see that, then you see George Dillman, that guy, the no-touch knockout guy, and then the UFC fighters go there, and Stephan Bonner was one of them, load of UFC fighters, and he's going, well, this stuff only works on 25% of the population, and natural athletes are the ones that are most powerful, and you can push your right toe down and lift your left toe up at the same time, and that will make you immune, or you can stick your tongue upside down backwards in your nose, and then that will make you immune. All this bollocks. The reality, look, you know what, it depends what you want out of martial arts. As much as it's very fun to shit on traditional martial arts, and when you're doing a proper fighting art like boxing, Thai boxing, wrestling, judo, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, it's a lot of fun. It depends what the practitioner wants out of it. What's your intention? Do you want to go to a sports hall twice a week and put on a uniform and work up a hierarchical system and feel like you're part of something and throw some kicks and maybe break some wooden boards? If that's all you want out of it, crack on. But if you want to be able to handle yourself in a real situation, then you got to choose accordingly. So there's nothing wrong with traditional martial arts. You just got to be very clear of your intentions, and you got to be aware that if your intention is something other than what the traditional martial art realistically has to offer you, and that's where it comes to you having to be a little bit aware and smart with what you're doing. If that fits what you want, then go for it. But if you want to do something that's actually going to work, then you got to do something proper.
Yeah, it's kind of like dance class, isn't it? Like people go to dance class and they're doing a dance.
Yeah.
Kind of same way, you're doing katas or whatever. Yeah. It's you're working up a sweat. It's fitness and that. And
yeah, the dangerous part is when you have like I said, you've got to be smart, and you've got beginners aren't smart. That's why they're beginners. They're not aware of what's going on. So when it gets dangerous is when you have people teaching traditional martial arts and they are selling it as something that it's not. They're selling it as an effective fighting system. They're selling it as an effective self-defense system, because then you are essentially taking advantage of someone who lacks the understanding and knowledge of the reality of the situation, tricking them into doing something that doesn't align with their intention or their desire.
Have you seen Defense Lab?
Absolutely. I've seen Defense Lab and I've seen
Defense Bab.
What do you call it?
Defense Bab.
They're good, man. They're really good. The Defense Lab stuff is and the thing is, in this day and age, when we have social media, a smart bit of marketing, a smart bit of advertising, you can take something that's complete horseshit and you can send it out to so many people and trick so many people. Back in the day before the internet and stuff like that, to trick someone, you'd have to write on a piece of paper on your poster, self-defense class, stick it on a wall. Someone sees that, they call you, or they come in and check out the class, and then you lie to them face to face, essentially, or you deceive them, whatever you want to call it, face to face. Now you can deceive millions of people at the same time without even being in the same room with them. It's very dangerous.
With a strong marketing budget. I want to speak to the marketing department.
Yeah,
because they're doing well, aren't they?
They're killing it.
They're
killing it.
But it's funny because we had Chris Houghter here, so that's like my lineage from Houghter, and so the guy who actually created Defense Lab was the first guy to bring Houghter to the UK. So we actually brought him here. Yeah. Exposed a lot of people to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and stuff, and I think he got his blue belt from him. Yeah. But then decided at some point to turn a corner and go down
so many the early days, and I've spoken to so many people through my podcast, not that I'm trying to plug it right now, but it is called the Rasberry Podcast.
plug it now. Sell it
to all four of us. Two of us out there, tell them when you go out.
I did one podcast once and they asked me such boring questions. I just saw how many plugs I could get for everything. But I'm not trying to do that now. No, but through talking to so many people through my podcast and getting a real history of the earliest days of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the UK, there wasn't a BJJ guy to bring over the BJJ guy. So it was other martial artists that were bringing it over. Judo wasn't, there were some judo guys that brought people over, but they weren't as interested. They already had their groundwork. They already had a really fully, thought out system. It was a lot of traditional martial artists and people that you wouldn't expect to be bringing over Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys who were bringing over Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys. It is interesting in that respect.
Yeah, it's good when you like delve that far back. Like when you look at the first kind of Brazilians that are coming over and stuff. Like I can remember the first, like I've spoken about it before, but the first time, it's a similar story to you really. I'm in the gym, I'm hitting a bag or whatever, and then these two guys are grappling on the floor. They had white belts on. Yeah. That was Neil Owen and Ben Poppleton.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, can I train with you? And Ben's like, yeah, come here. And he just got me in side control. I'm like 14 at this point. He gets me in side control and says, get out then. And he just held me there for like 10 minutes. And that were it. That's all he did. He's a fucking crazy guy, Ben. He's fucking crazy. Ben, he's calmed down a lot. Some of the stuff he used to say during training was like,
He's still pretty crazy during training.
Yeah,
but I imagine he's
some of the stuff that it's kind of he's definitely got like something missing, that little filter that people have,
or
like
something extra.
Yeah,
He just doesn't. He really doesn't give a fuck.
No. Yeah. But he has calmed down a lot from because I remember him from the start, because I met him, he just started training, then there was a tournament, it was like Anaconda BJJ. I can't remember the guy who was running it, but so they all did this tournament and the winners got promoted by this Brazilian guy. Yeah. So there was Ben, Neil Owen with blue belts, there were a few other guys.
Yeah, I think he tells the story on the podcast.
Yeah. So that were the kind of the start, and then, but yeah, it were crazy back then. I remember like somebody, he taught some kind of sweep, and there's a class, it's like five people training or whatever, and this guy can't really get it, and he's like, listen, this sweep, this is the most fundamental sweep of all of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. This is like, if you can't do this sweep, you might as well just get your kit and just fuck off. And I was like, shit. So brutal. And this guy was looking at him like, yeah, you're joking, aren't you? And he's like, nah.
Couldn't be more serious.
This is probably not for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit. Not the best way to keep students, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I don't know, look, I was having a chat with some people yesterday about this. I think one of the nice things about martial arts, but if we just talk specifically, one of the nice things about jiu-jitsu is you can be yourself, you can teach however you want to teach, and as long as you continue to be yourself, then the people who like your style of teaching and want to be around you will gravitate towards you, and the people who don't like you will gravitate away, and that's fine. Now, your particular style of teaching may be a style that means not very many people want to train with you, and you have a small gym, or your style can be one that a lot of people want to train with you and you'll have a big gym. But I think there's room for all the different, and just because someone is better than someone else, like subjectively has higher achievements or is even a higher belt, there could be a black belt here and there could be a blue belt teaching around the corner, and people want to choose to train with the blue belt instead of the black belt just because they like it there. So, there's space for people like Ben and the people who want to train with Ben.
Yeah.
You're gonna, he doesn't give a fuck, and you're gonna love him or hate him.
Yeah.
And the people who love him, and the people who hate him, I'm sure they hate him. But, this Ben keep being Ben.
Yeah. He's a funny guy. Really funny guy.
Mm.
Yeah, there's been a few of those scenarios crop up over the years, but yeah. And then I didn't see him for years, like literally years, because he went. I think he were out in fucking Nepal doing yoga or some shit.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, like he just fucked off, just disappeared. He's doing yoga, comes back doing all these mad breathing exercises and stuff. Yeah. I'd not seen him for years, and I'm walking through Doncaster, through the high street. Bearing in mind, I trained with Ben when I'm like 15 years old.
Yeah.
So I was skinny little kid, and then I started fighting MMA, and I just grew. I got bigger, and then I'm walking down the street. I'm maybe like 21, 22. Ben's walking towards me. I'm like, fucking hell, Ben, how's it going? It's years since he's seen me. I train with him and that, and he just looks at me and he goes, been on steroids, aren't you? I'm like, what the fuck? You've not seen me for 5 years. And I'm like, no, I'm just I was 15. I'm like 21 now. I'm like, fucking hell. And they were just like, all right, yeah, sound nice to see you. But I was just like, that's just a classic fucking Ben line there. That were a funny moment.
Yeah,
but
he's a funny guy.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys like that. A lot of characters though, aren't they? In jiu-jitsu and in martial arts, but
I think martial arts is naturally going to attract people with a little bit of a different outlook on life or a different way of walking their own path. So you tend to get a lot of characters always with all martial arts.
Yeah. In terms of like coaching, then like who were some of the best coaches that you've sort of trained with and
coaching's a really interesting one. I started coaching very, very early just because back in the day it would have been similar to you.
Yeah.
And there wasn't anyone around, Now, even though there were plenty of blue belts running classes and some of them are very good, it's pretty uncommon to see blue belts running classes these days. Whereas back in the day, there was so few brown and black belts. Technically, when I started, there were no UK born black belts living in the UK at the time. Ben was one of the earliest, and those guys sort of came in 2006. So I started teaching when I was 16. Just got my blue belt, and I started teaching jiu-jitsu then. So I've been teaching for a very, very long time. And you get better and you develop it as long as you put work into it. If you don't put work into something, then you never improve on anything. In terms of instructors that I've had, Nick Brooks, who was my instructor for I still consider my instructor. He was a blue belt when I started training with him. And he set a standard, a blue belt that I thought was so, like, for me, I one day wanted to achieve my blue belt. To be at his level, because he was an encyclopedia of techniques. Like he knew so many techniques nowadays there was no blue belts with that level of knowledge. I guarantee it. It's just very, very different now. So Nick always, was a great instructor, and I learned a lot of. Obviously, I developed my own style as I've been teaching for 12, 13 years now. But that was who I'd originally learned to teach from, basically, and I've never really had any other instructor. But some of the people that I've done seminars with, who was it? Mike Fowler. Very Mike, good instructor. Yeah.
Is this? I haven't heard anything about Mike Fowler for a long time.
He's still knocking about.
Yeah,
he's still knocking about. He was a good instructor again in the Mill Hill. Ricardo De La Riva, creator of the De La Riva Guard. I spent a month in Brazil back in 2008 training with him. What I liked about him, and very similar actually, Mauricio Gomez, who sort of the godfather of UK BJJ. Both of these guys, when I teach, I like to talk. Okay, I like to talk in general, but when I teach, I like to really sort of over-explain. I'd rather you have too much information so that the good amount sets in. And that's just the way that my style of teaching has developed, and I'm not looking to change it necessarily unless people start really moaning that I talk too much, which I guess some people probably do anyway. But what's always impressed me about people like De La Riva and Mauricio is their ability to convey so much with so little. I wouldn't say a lot. A lot of the time when I was learning from De La Riva, he didn't even speak English, or he'd go for a translator and he'd barely say anything. But his ability and his and that's not just a verbal thing. That's a mannerisms. That's your body language. To be able to draw attention to areas without having to draw attention to areas. I always found it very, very interesting. Some of these old school guys didn't have to talk a lot, didn't have to explain why, didn't have to go into the science or the breakdown, which is what I prefer to do. But you'd really learn a lot, and it would really stick with you because they knew how to put all of that information into the smallest amount necessary.
Do you think that's because of the language barrier that they had to? Because you're getting a lot of guys obviously traveling over there to learn. You think that that's something they learnt by accident, trying to teach like foreigners, you know?
Well, I think it's that because the two of them, Mauricio has incredible English. You know, he's absolutely fluent and he speaks with an American accent. I believe he worked as a translator. I always forget so much information about people I've spoken to on podcasts because there's so much of it. But his English is impeccable, so definitely no language barrier there. Okay. De La Riva, possibly a language barrier, but because they're so similar, you got to go, well, you've taken that variable out. So I don't think it is. I think that there's a lot to be said for people's ability to show very little and show so much in that. I always found that very interesting.
Yeah, because you had John Will on your podcast. Have you ever trained with John?
I haven't. I've heard so much, so many good things about training with John, and I follow ever since because I knew of the name, but I didn't follow him. I didn't really know too much about him up until I did the podcast. Really enjoyed the podcast with him, and followed him since. And he's a very intelligent man and a very interesting guy. And I'd love to, if he comes back to UK, I'd love to if the schedule's lined up to train with him. Yeah,
I first came in contact with him in 2010. It was Adam Adzed, Factory BJJ, had him over for a seminar, and it was just mind blowing to train with somebody who broke everything down. Like he even had everybody, like not everyone would like this, but he has everybody like facing the same direction and stuff, and everybody who did that seminar, I remember every technique we did that day, which is crazy. But everybody in the room got every technique, and there was like fresh white belts right up to black belts in the same room, and it was crazy to see.
I love his seminars; they're absolutely great for learning.
Yeah. I'd love to get to one and someone I could learn something.
Yeah, it's like it's not so much the techniques, but it's like the style of teaching that he has is different from.
But then, at the same time, obviously, I've never heard a bad thing said about John's seminars, and like as you said, everyone remembered it. I think there's something to be said for some people, in the same way that some people would gravitate towards a certain personality of instructor, they also gravitate towards a certain method to and style of instruction, just like some people are more visual, or some people are more audio based, or they need to do the movement. Everyone's very different, so I think as well, when people pick academies, it's very much not, so you can't say someone's necessarily a better instructor, because they might just be better for you, and someone else might be better for someone else. So it's to have variety.
Yeah, definitely. I've trained with lots of people. How many seminars have you done now? Have you done a few?
I've done many. I mean, I came to it first. I filmed the first Frank Mir one, didn't I? Then I came to Chris Houter's, but I filmed a bit of that, so I didn't really get involved.
Houter's so crazy. Just like you just got to keep him on on the task.
Yeah, I really want to get him on my podcast. When he comes over. I'm sure
just don't get onto politics.
Oh, now I want to.
But yeah, tonight will be the first one that I've got no other job. Like I'm not filming. I'm just going to come and enjoy it. So this is probably my first.
Got loads of pressure
seminar
on me now.
Yeah. No, it'd be good, but that's all.
It's good seeing how different people coach and how different people respond to it and stuff. For me as a coach, because I've been coaching since a young age as well, and it's like a big experiment for me.
Yeah,
because I train a lot of fighters and stuff, and I get to see everyone just works different.
Yeah.
I was always looking for like the formula, like what do I need to do? Like what techniques do I need to show them? What does the warm-up need to look like every time? But now I realise there's not really a formula because it's just...
Yeah, everyone's different as well. Yeah. But I think one thing when it comes to, that you'll get from experience is understanding, and this is a massive thing that people don't, a lot of instructors, they think that they just need to learn how to do BJJ. It's a big misconception with instructors. Now, yeah, some people have a natural affinity to be able to teach. But one thing is, understanding people, understanding how to communicate with people, understanding the various sort of the psychology between communication. And by studying this sort of stuff, you can learn. And, you say use the word experimenting. I think you should be experimenting every day of your life until you die. Yeah. Experimentation is just a word for trying stuff out and trying to learn from it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
There's like winging it, and then experimentation, the same thing, except one, you ignore what happens afterwards, and one you sort of really take in and try and analyze what happens afterwards. I think experimentation is very important in every facet of life, whether that's experiment with your diet, experiment with your sleep, experiment with your exercise, experiment in your social interactions, and experiment with your coaching. And as long as you have that sort of growth mindset to always try and improve what you're doing. But yeah, I think one of the big things, like sort of what you're alluding to, is everyone's different, and you have to learn. And instead of trying to like, I need to work out how Dan's going to learn, if you just try and study how humans learn and realize that there are different individuals and there are certain things that are going to be different, and there's a lot of stuff that's going to be similar, and sort of trying to improve your ability to interact with people, basically.
Yeah, definitely. Because there's a lot of stuff, so many like jiu-jitsu instructionals and stuff out there now, and you've got all these different methods really of like drilling, and you got the Kit Dale kind of philosophy, like don't drill, just roll, and so what are your thoughts on that, on like drilling?
On that specifically? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you my thoughts. Because it's an interesting time to get me, and I'll explain why.
Yeah.
Because I have been in that camp. I have not really drilled at all for the last 7 years, maybe, give or take a few years. And I just roll. I'm kind of enough, and I can drill stuff whilst I'm rolling, or like live drilling, basically.
Yeah.
I've always been in that camp. I think that there are a lot of technique, obviously as a beginner, you can't do that. You have to drill as a beginner. Even just to get your body moving correctly. So I mainly just roll, and I think that there are some techniques that you're going to get a lot more benefit from drilling than others. I think techniques that require timing and techniques that require movement, then you need to practice your timing and you need to practice your movement. Techniques that just require positions, maybe not so much. However, I went to Australia not long ago, and I trained at St Kilda Absolute MMA with Lachlan Giles. I trained in the pro class there. And we started the class with half an hour of drilling, each person, half an hour, I think it was. It was a fucking long time. I was like fucked afterwards. Yeah. It was a very long time, and they drill for 5-minute rounds, like hard, full drilling, proper drilling, drill continuously for 5 minutes. Then the other person 5 minutes, then you 5 minutes, then the other person 5 minutes, then you 5 minutes, then the other person 5 minutes. And there's something to be said for that. It really did open my eyes, because the people moved so well and they knew the techniques that they were doing so well. I think that there is I'm starting to sort of, again, experimentation and like always having that growth mindset. You know, you don't know everything. You've got to try other things. I think back when I finish the seminar tour, when I get back to London, drilling is going to be something that I'm going to potentially implement into my game a little bit more and experiment and see what happens.
Yeah, cool. So you're talking about that seminar tour. You can plug that a little bit now.
Okay, well,
let's do that.
Yeah. So I'm just traveling around. I've stopped teaching. I no longer teach anywhere after 12 years of teaching every week. The last 4 years full-time, having a full-time program at Mill Hill. I stepped away from my role as the head Nogi instructor at Mill Hill just to give me a little bit of freedom. And even though I guess I loved my students. And I loved it. I loved having the students so much, and I wanted them to progress so much. I really put myself at the bottom of the priority list. And I thought, I sort of had an epiphany at one point. I'm 29 years old now. I'm not getting any younger. Even though that might not sound that old, it sounds really old to me. But it might not sound that old. But when you've been training for 15, 16 years, it's a really long time, and your body's gone through a lot. I probably have about, maybe an absolute max, like 5 good years in me before it starts to go downhill. And I want to make a run. I want to get back in the competition. I didn't compete anywhere near as much as I wanted to compete last year. And if I want to do that, I need to focus more on myself and not have those students there. So sadly, I gave that up with the intention of starting a team in the future. But for now, just to focus on myself. But it gives me the opportunity to do stuff like go away to Australia to train and do seminars, or to travel. Last couple of years when I was doing seminars, I teach Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, do seminars Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then back Monday, Tuesday. With all the traveling, it's just savage. Yeah. It takes you half a week to recover, and then you're ready to go again. So the advantage of what I could do now is I can travel for a month, which is what I'm doing, around the north, the Midlands up to the top of Scotland and back down, teaching seminars everywhere along the way. So I'm just over a week into it. I'm traveling up. We got seminars today, tomorrow, next day. I travel up to Newcastle, then into Scotland, pretty much all of Scotland, and then back down through through Liverpool and that side, and back home. Yeah,
cool.
There's still spaces available for tonight as well.
Yeah. Come down. We've got a massive mat, so plenty of space. 7:00 tonight, AVT Leeds. So
I'm going to be teaching people how to surgically remove people's heads from other people's heads from their bodies.
There you go. Yeah, so focusing on the guillotine. So the guillotine is really, I'm pretty sure statistically, it's the most highest percentage submission. Is that right? Does anybody?
I don't know.
Yeah,
sounds good. I'll go with it.
Go on.
Do you know that 56% of all statistics are made up? Do you know that?
Yeah.
60% of the time, the guillotine works every time. The guillotine is a really it's a beautiful move. It's a really, really nice move. And I think a lot of people, and not to talk shit on leg lockers, but over the last couple of years, the leg lock sort of revolution has happened, and so many people are going for that. They're really forgetting about some of the upper body attacks. The guillotine is a very, very old move. You can trace this stuff, the front headlock position, you can trace that stuff back all the way to ancient Greece and stuff, to the pancration tournaments. You can see, pictures from antiquity of people going for that guillotine. I've got a really cool, in fact, top front of my phone, I got Hercules guillotine in the Neiman lion there.
Ah, sick, yeah.
It's cool, right? Yeah. The guillotine is a very cool position. Now, this is the thing, I see it as a position, and this is the misconception. We're going to talk about this tonight, even though we're going to focus on the submission. Yeah. There are some techniques, there are some submissions in grappling that are purely that. Arm bar, or Americana, rear naked choke. You can chain them and you can link them into other things, but the position itself you can just submit from. Then you have something like a Kimura. A Kimura, you can pass guard, you can sweep, you can reverse, you can take the back, you can transition to an arm bar, and of course you can finish it with that twisting shoulder lock that everyone calls a Kimura. If you looked at the Kimura as just a submission, you're going to not just miss out on some of what it can do, you're going to miss out on the majority of what it can do. And I think the exact same for the guillotine. The guillotine you can take down, you can whether that's snapping people down forward, whether that's putting people on their back. You can pass guard, you can reverse, you can sweep, and of course you can also submit, and you can submit from a lot more places than people think. So even though I don't have anywhere near enough time when I do these seminars to show all of the stuff that the guillotine can do, I just focus on showing the basic guillotine, because a lot of people make very small mistakes there that add up to very big issues when they're attacking it. But if you look at the guillotine as a control position first and foremost, and a submission afterwards, then that's going to give you a basis to do all of those other things, whether it's controlling, transitioning, or submitting. So that's what we're going to be looking at.
How are we looking with them stats? Come on.
So it's 6th in gi.
I wish you were 5th.
Nah, we're not talking about gi. We're talking about
4th in no gi.
That's surprisingly high for the gi.
Yeah,
because it's quite difficult to get guillotines.
I'm pretty sure.
From the
UFC,
about to search for MMA.
I'm sure it was the UFC stats that I saw, and guillotine was the number one submission. I think it was guillotine and then rear naked choke.
That would make sense.
Yeah,
that would make sense. I'd say guillotine, rear naked choke, and triangles probably. I'd imagine maybe then Kimuras.
Armbars quite popular as well in MMA. Up there?
Armbars were number 1 in gi.
Yeah, of course. The biggest difference that gi makes to no gi is the friction. The biggest difference is to attack arm bars easily. Yeah.
And it's a little bit harder to get like rear naked chokes in a gi as well, I think.
It is harder, but then you have burn arrows.
Yeah.
So there's a very
2 chokes at my white belt career so far. I got burn arrowed and I got guillotined.
Yeah.
True story. That.
Gi and no gi, or both in the gi?
In the gi was bow and arrow.
Well, it wouldn't have been
no gi was guillotine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You were getting bow and arrow
there is a no gi bow and arrow, isn't there?
With the arm across?
Yeah, where you just pull their arm in.
Yeah.
Marby might have done it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, just reminding. Strength move.
That's just me. Yeah, it is.
Strength move. Talking of strength moves, let's move on. There
smooth.
we go.
Wow, nice.
Guillotine's second at UFC.
Guillotine, what's number 1?
Rear naked.
Rear naked.
Yeah. And then
armbar, triangle, arm triangle.
And arm triangle.
Yeah.
Ooh, nice.
So
strength training.
Yeah. So when did you decide to start or was you doing strength training, all the way from the start?
No, I wasn't. I tell you what, I read a book when I was 16. So I've been training for a couple of years, towards the end of when I was 16, actually, because I remember it was just before I took it to Europeans with me because I was so engrossed in this book. Started reading a book called Dinosaur Training. I have no idea how I came across it. I have no idea.
This is one of them stories, isn't it? I was on this train.
I was on the back of a Tyrannosaurus Rex and I found this book.
I have no idea how I came across it. And it doesn't matter because I did come across it. But I started reading a book called Dinosaur Training.
Yeah.
And it's by a guy called Brooks Kubik. And it was the idea that the dinosaur in Dinosaur Training is sort of the old school. He talks a lot about, he has a little bit of a background in wrestling, so he talks a lot about wrestling, and he talks mainly about old time strongmen, your Eugene Sandows, your Arthur Saxons, your George Hackensmiths, these were guys, and in the podcast I did with David a few days ago, he's so much more knowledgeable than me on these sorts of things, but I've always had a big love for the old time strongmen. These were celebrities back in the day. People used to go to film theaters to watch people lift things, break chains, fight lions, like to do shit like that, crazy shit. It's a cool story of Eugene Sandow fighting a lion, or told by Eugene Sandow, so it might have not been quite as realistic as he tells it, but the story goes, just for those interested, the story goes that he that they were going to fight. It was a tiger or a lion, I can't remember which one, but it was a big old cat that should probably fuck someone up. And they gave him gloves, not Eugene, they gave the tiger or lion, whatever, they gave him gloves so he couldn't scratch. And they did like a rehearsal the day beforehand, and he got in this cage and he like had this fucking brawl, and he's like explaining it, and the claws were so sharp they were like slightly coming through, so he was getting ripped to pieces, and he's like picking up this line and chucking it around, and in the end he like tricks it, he turns his back, as it jumps he ducks under and like, I don't know, like RNCs it or smashes it or whatever it is.
Mataleao.
Yeah, he does. He tells this cool story about how he had this epic fight with this lion or tiger, and then afterwards, once he did that, it's like, Jesus Christ, that was hard work, and I got to do this all again tomorrow in front of the audience, and then it gets to the next day, and they pull this lion out, or tiger out, and because they sort of like already had that fight and the hierarchy was set, he wanted nothing to do with it. That lion was just like, cat was in the corner, just didn't want anything to do with him, wasn't going to fuck with him again. And I think he says like, oh, I kept on pulling its tail and kicking it, trying to get it to fight me. Didn't want it. So in the end, he chucks it over his shoulders and walks around because that's all he could do with it, and everyone loses their mind. The realism of that, there's no videos, there's no YouTube out there, but that's the story he tells. It's a very cool story. But anyway, I was super into all of the, through this book, got me... sort of understanding and researching these old time strongmen, and so many of them were wrestlers.
Yeah, like I stumbled a long time ago on a website called Sandow Plus?
Yes,
and it's got the Farmer Burns wrestling course.
They had all of that old time, all of them.
Yeah,
I don't even think it's there anymore.
Yeah,
but they had all of them. But all of these guys, that the strongman. And when we say strong, we're not talking about contemporary strongman. We're not talking about modern day strongman. Like we're talking about old performing strongman. They were so many of them. It was very closely connected to wrestling, grappling.
Yeah.
Sometimes with submissions, catch wrestling, stuff like that. And that's something that we lost. We lost the connection and the symbiosis between strength training and grappling. So that for me. That's where it all started for me with dinosaur training and my journey. Didn't never put down a weight since then, basically. And it develops over time. You get interested in different things, but that's how it all started.
But right now you're fully invested in grip training, right? That's like the...
Well, I tell you what. So grip training is I've always been in the grip training. That's one of the big things in dinosaur training is like you don't have a strong grip. So when I first started working out, I bought a thick-handled barbell, 2.5 inches, so very thick. And if you think a normal bar is an inch, the collars on the side are 2 inches, 2.5 inches, even bigger than that. Non-rotating handles, no knurling. It was just a metal bar that you could put plates on, and bought like 100 kilos of plates, and I just lift this thing every day. Just like, dude, I did a deadlift, a floor press, didn't have a bench. I was originally deadlifting and pressing off of cardboard boxes, just like folded on top of each other. But floor press, overhead press, bicep curl, deadlift, and we didn't squat. Because you always avoid leg day, but it's so difficult to get a heavy weight on your back because you didn't have a power rack. You'd have to pick it off the ground, put it on your back. And I did, and then farmers walks, and I did that every day for a while, and I started to get more into the strength training, but the grip training. So I started with thick handled training and the farmers walks, and they're very, very valuable tools. That passive grip training from the thick handled, and the active grip training from the sort of semi-active, semi-passive grip training from the farmers walks. And once you realize how important grip training is, you never stop doing it. At the moment, and I've gone through lots of phases of doing different things. So at one time I was sort of, because I like to set goals for myself. And one of the things, and I was thinking about this earlier today, I think, I wanted to say something, so this is a good enough platform as any. The problem with jiu-jitsu, for all of the great things that jiu-jitsu does and all of its great attributes, one thing you can't do is you can't really set goals with it. It's very difficult to do because it's out of your control. The closest to goals is, I want to submit this person, or I want to win this tournament, or I want to do that. You can do everything right and still not submit that person because you're setting goals that are out of your control, and that's not really how goals should be set. So with the strength training, it's different. With the strength training, 100 kilos, 100 kilos, or, the horseshoe's a horseshoe and the stone's a stone, So you can set a goal that's a lot more achievable. And even though to begin with, my goals were always very simple goals, it was, I want a certain amount of weight. I want 200 kilos squat, or I want 150, whatever it was. But you get bored of that very quickly. And if you get bored, you stop doing stuff. So you've got to keep it exciting. So I'd start to set other goals. So one goal was to, there's a really niche, grip sport is a niche sport, full stop, but there's a small sub-sport within grip sport, which is steel bending. So they give you pieces of steel, and there's different types of steel bending. You have long bar bending, you have medium-sized bending. It's usually done on the knee or on the head. You can use your body. Yeah. They had it in World's Strongest Man at one point, actually. They did long bar bending, yeah. And then you have unbraced bending. So you're talking about like bending nails. Yeah. You're not allowed to lever off your body. Yeah. And there's a certification out there for bending nails. So you might have heard of the Captains of Crush.
Yeah.
Captains of Crush, Iron Mind, which is a very famous strength company, and they do a lot of grip stuff. Iron Mind had a challenge to close this very, very strong gripper, and a lot of people know about that Captains of Crush number 3. What a lot of people don't know about is the Captains of Crush, the Iron Mind nails, the red nail and the gold nail. No one's ever done the gold nail under certification specs. It's just ridiculous, like as thick as your pinky and solid, cold rolled steel, I think. Just almost impossible to do. But the red nail was something that I thought could be achievable, and it was something. I also like the idea of doing things where I've achieved this, my name's in the book, it's on the site, I've got the certificate, no one can take this away from me. Yeah. I can tell my grandkids, I can go, look, your pops did this back in the day, they're going to go, you're crazy, and you can share the video or whatever. So I like the idea of doing stuff like that. So I try, that was one of the things I did, was I worked on bending this red nail, accomplished that, and then look to do other things such as tear a pack of cards, do that, okay, move on to the next thing. So last year it was to do the Dinny stones, to lift these I don't know if you've ever heard of the Dinny stones. You heard the Dinny stones?
Yeah.
They're two very famous lifting stones in Scotland. These two huge boulders, you can get some pictures of that. These two huge boulders together, and they've got these metal ring they're not handles, they're just rings. It was the boulders were used as counterweights when they were building a bridge. So together they are 333 kilos, and you lift them both up at the same time. No straps or anything. You can sort of straddle it like a deadlift, yeah, and then lift it up like that. So I trained for that for about a year and managed to do that. And the thing that I'm doing right now is just stone lifting. So not stones with handles, but what they call manhood stones. These are just stones that in Scotland the clans used to get together.
And just grab it and
who's a man, who can lift up this stone, who can lift it higher, who can lift it more times. And because I've been really interested in this since I started looking into sort of the strongman stuff, and because I'm going up to Scotland on this tour, I thought that you got some pictures there. I might be in that picture. I'm in that picture. Oh yeah, I'm on the website. Is that the front page?
It's just on website that I went up on.
Yes, it's the front page.
That's the front page though.
So you're on the homepage. Yeah. Tell the grandkids.
No, I never knew that. Wait, let me have a look at this.
Famous.
That's crazy. What am I doing there? You know what the funny thing is? That's hysterical. Because it's not even like I'm a big. They've had some real big names go and do that. They had Eddie Hall go do that recently, and Brian Shaw. What am I doing on that website? And do you know what the real funny thing is? You see how they got me there with the certificate? They took it back. They still they told me they were going to send me one. They still haven't sent me one. So
get this man his certificate.
They've got a picture of me with my certificate.
Or it'll come and I'll lift your stone.
Quick screenshot.
I don't even have the certificate. But yeah, so I did. That's really cool. I had no idea that I was on that. Not just on the website, but on the front page.
I just watched the Eddie Hall mini documentary thing he made where we were just speaking when he lifted the fucking crazy. Like
you had to imagine lifting a car off his kids, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it was something worse than that. What he alluded to in the interview is like I had to imagine that like something bad was happening.
He had to go dark.
Yeah. And he said he was looking at himself in a mirror or whatever, and really like getting into that.
Is this on YouTube? Is it? Where is it?
We got the video down.
Look at this.
Oh yeah. I think I do it twice. So the first one, I got it up, but I didn't get the lockout. So that counted as a lift, but I wasn't happy with it. They were, so I trained, this is so funny to talk about whenever I say it, but there's a company that makes replica handles for them. So I was training with that, but these were more slippery than the handles that I was training with.
Can you use chalk?
You can use chalk, but no aid. So there's the lift.
Yeah. And now you can wear tartan. You get your own family tartan now.
I need a denim kilt is what I need. But yeah, so I'm going up to Scotland next week, and I'm traveling all around. And they've got so many manhood stones littered around. So at the moment, I'm just training to go and lift all of those manhood stones, and then I can really call myself a man.
There you go. Yeah. You should do a little documentary just following the... I am
going to be doing a little documentary. Cool. So I've got a guy coming up with me actually, and he's going to be following me around, filming some. So this is the first time.
Exclusive.
This is an exclusive. So we're gonna, with this, very similar to sort of what you've done here with the podcast, where you say, you didn't know what was going to happen. You just see how it goes. Same with that. He's going to come up. He's going to follow me. He's going to follow me doing the seminars, follow me doing the stone lifting, and see if we can get into some adventures, and then see how much footage we have, and see if we can make whether it's a 15-minute documentary or whether it's a little mini series.
Yeah.
The stone lifting is something that I really love the idea of it. It's so strange when you hear about it.
Yeah.
Same with the metal bending. It's a very strange thing to want to do and to invest so much time and effort into. But when you do it, you understand why you do it.
It's about the manliest thing you're going to hear, though, isn't it? That you can.
But like the steel bending, people so you just bend a piece of steel and then and then it's useless now. And then you give someone a nail, like a thin one that they can do, and you teach them the technique, and they bend the nail. And I'll tell you something: when you're bending steel and you got a hot, and you don't know whether you're going to get it or not, and you put all of this effort in, and you feel it move in your hands, it's a fucking awesome feeling. I'll tell you something. I used to do horseshoes as well, opening up horseshoes or bending horseshoes around. And when you have something, is I don't know. I think with all of this stuff, the common theme is it's not designed to be lifted.
Yeah.
It's not designed to be bent. A nail is designed to be strong and to not move and to not bend. A horseshoe is designed to be strong, to be put onto the feet of these huge animals and trampled into the ground. And then you take that thing and then you do something that it isn't designed to do. A barbell, there's a regulation size with knurling, a certain distance, and this is designed, it's ergonomic, it's designed to do that. When you go and you find a stone and you lift this big stone off the ground, that stone doesn't want to get lifted. That no one built that stone to be lifted. And then you go into the history of this stone has been lifted for hundreds of years. This stone was lifted by this man. This stone was lifted by this man. In Iceland, there's a lot of in Scotland, it's sort of the clans and the history. In Iceland, there's a lot more mythology around it. This stone traps a spirit, and you've got to carry it around his. There's a stone there where you've got to carry the stone around the grave. I'll tell you the full
Didn't
story.
do none of that last week, did you?
I tell you, I was in Iceland last week.
Really?
Yeah, and they were telling us about the stories of the various history of it, and apparently there's like stones and rocks and stuff, and they've built roads to go around these rocks because elves live under the rock.
Exactly.
And the current prime minister of Iceland has. Basically, this road, it was like a road or a dam, something had to be built. And they said it would just go from bad to worse with this project. It would cost them too much money. And this government decided the reason it was going so bad was because of the elves in this rock. Yeah. So the Prime Minister of Iceland wrote a letter to the elves to say,
where did they post it?
I didn't go into the details.
They have their means.
You just went and put it under a rock.
I accepted the story, and they were like, basically... they sent the letter to the elves and they blamed the elves that this project was going wrong. And after they sent the letter and spoke nice to them, it was fine, and they finished the project. And now these sacred rocks, and there's so much history. And like you said, I love it. Yeah, what an amazing place. You've not been yet, have you?
No, I've not been. No.
I haven't been either.
Oh my god, it's unbelievable place. Yeah,
I want to go there and lift some stones. No, there's a cool story about. There's this one that I remember. One of my favorite is this farmer. He's having a hard time. Farmer's not an easy job. And he goes and he, this guy comes along, or he meets, maybe he knows it's the devil. So he meets the devil and he goes, makes a deal with the devil. He goes, I need you to help me out. I need you. Never a good idea to make a deal with the devil. It's pretty much in the word. But he decides he's going to make a deal with the devil and to give him, a flourishing farm. And the devil says, if you can pick that stone off the ground, then I'll give you, a prosperous farm, prosperous life. And of course, he's a big, strong guy. He's a big farmer. He thinks I can pick up that stone. But of course, the devil's always playing tricks. And as he goes to pick it up, the devil's secretly holding it from underneath and through the ground. So he can't pick it up, and he takes his soul. So the priest hears about this, and he meets with the devil. He goes, you've pulled some bullshit here. Let's be honest. This isn't fair. You tricked him. And they come to a compromise where if this stone gets carried around his grave, I think it's 100 times or maybe 1,000 times. So it's 100 or 1,000. I think it's 100. If you carry this stone around 100 times, then I will release his spirit and it can go to heaven. So people travel out there to pick up this stone and to carry it around this guy's grave, to help out, kind of to do their bit, to get those 100 rotations so his spirit can...
It's part of history. That's so cool.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, that's cool.
So then imagine traveling to Iceland and, it's cold, it's windy, it's snowy. You know the history. And this is the thing, it's not just a rock on the ground. you know the history behind it, and you become part of that history. And you know, it's one of the things I love about the Dinny stones. There's so much legend around it, and even though I'm a very small part, I just picked them up and put them down. And you know, I think we're on about probably 160 people or so have done it since Donald Dinny did it in the maybe late 1800s. Or early 1900s, but a long time ago. I didn't do a lot, but I'm part of that. You know, and when you pick up these stones, you become part of it, and you continue on the tradition, and you continue on the myth and the legend, and it's very cool.
It is cool. That's class. I like that.
Yeah, you should have done that shit. What did you do?
I just went to Iceland, took some pictures.
You couldn't even go to Gunnar Nelson's dad's gym.
I know, terrible.
Yeah, all busy.
You didn't go to Mjolnir?
Yeah, I was going to go, but I ran out of time.
Have you seen it? It looks insane.
Yeah, it looks crazy. Hallie always tells me, he's like, you need to come. I always bump into him. Yeah. And I think he said he's got 1% of Iceland's population training there.
Yeah. Which is, I think the population is 300,000.
Yeah, I think it's 350,000 when we were there.
They've got 3,500 people.
Yeah,
it's a lot of people.
Yeah, still a lot of people.
But I believe, I'm not sure, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's like supported by the government. So it's not just a gym there. It's like a big community center. Yeah.
They said there's a lot of that in Iceland because of like long winters and stuff. That
it's got a really high suicide rate, hasn't it?
Apparently, yeah.
And the lowest, you get a 6 month,
and the lowest crime rates. The last homicide in Iceland was 2008.
Yeah, it's too cold to kill people.
Yeah. But yeah, the government put them into like after school activities and stuff like that by the sounds of things. And for such a small place to have such elite athletes, strongmen, CrossFit athletes, fighters, like they're doing something right, you know.
If you're interested in the stone lifting stuff, especially with Iceland. Now, if you're interested in stone lifting stuff, then hopefully wait for this mini series that I'm going to be releasing in the next month or so. But if you want to watch something about Icelandic stone lifting, there's a Rogue, the strength company. They did a 3-part series on stone lifting. It's called Stoneland. It's on Netflix. I think it's still on Netflix. If not, it's on YouTube. Very beautifully made documentaries. Very, very nice. First one's called Levantadores, I think, and it's about the Basque country stone lifters. They have a very strange style of stone lifting. They lift, manufactured stones, blocks, balls, stuff like that. Then they have the Scottish stone lifting called Stoneland. And then they have the Icelandic stone lifting called Full Styrka. It's like full strength. And it's a really, really cool documentary. And they show, sort of the culture and how they kind of keep on reiterating it's hard in Iceland. You've got to be tough. You've got to be strong. And if you've got to be strong, they check how strong you are by seeing, that they'd have these stones where if you couldn't lift the stone, you couldn't work on the boats. Couldn't go, you couldn't earn a living.
It's a good test, isn't it? Like, here's my CV. It's like, nah, mate, lift that fucking stone.
Yeah, I heard. I think in Scandinavia they still do have a lot of sort of respect, almost idolization for strength. This is something we don't have in the UK. It's something we have. Some countries have more than others, but in the UK we really don't have that level of respect for strength, physical strength. But in Scandinavia, they really do, with all the legends and sort of the Viking lore and stuff. But I remember I got a message from someone a few years ago, and they said, how can I improve my grip? Because, and I want to get this right, I believe it was, they get a discount in a dog grooming salon if you could close a gripper. Like that, like it's like really random stuff like that, but it just goes to show you, like, they respect strength so much that not even like in a gym. Like if you go to a gym, you get 50% of your thing if you can squeeze this thing. Not that, like a dog salon. And if you could close this gripper, you get 15% off. And they message me like, I need to be able to close this gripper. I'll save a fortune.
That's fucking crazy.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. We need to do some challenges like that at the gym, don't we?
You're gonna have to think of something.
But not related to strength, like how many Jaffa cakes can you eat in 5 minutes?
You've already done this, haven't you?
Yeah.
Surely you got to
I still reckon I can do this marathon.
Danny eats food. What marathon?
The mile there, 12 Krispy Kreme donuts, and a mile back in an hour.
In under an hour.
That's not what a marathon is, right? So wait, who invented this? Who invented this food challenge?
It was I saw it on like Lad Bible a few weeks back, and it's like, you can do 12 Krispy Kreme, and what is it, a mile there and a mile back?
You run a mile, eat 12 donuts, and then run a mile back in under an hour.
That don't sound that
It's tough.
They don't sound that bad.
Can you eat the eggs at any point, or you have to eat them when you get to the end of the first mile?
It's you do the mile first, then you eat
12 cream eggs.
No, Krispy Kreme donuts.
Oh, Krispy Kreme donuts. Okay.
Yeah. Which is tough.
Yeah, that's you're gonna feel like.
Luckily, our gym is about a mile away from Krispy Kreme.
So yeah, it could be done.
It's like it was invented for you.
We've got many challenges and activities that we're going to do on this podcast. Like we've got to go to Wales to a castle that Danny's granddad had a boxing match with a heavyweight champion of the world, and we're going to go there.
Is this true?
Yeah. It's just a mad story. You know, like when I was younger, my granddad used to just tell me these stories.
You come from a line of fighters.
Yeah, but basically, yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah, but I never believed it. I didn't believe this story. So what it was is my great granddad was just an amateur boxer. Yeah, he's in the military. He did amateur boxing. So my granddad always said, my granddad said, firstly, we had a castle in Wales, and I was like, fuck off.
Like he owned one.
Yeah. It's like, I could have owned this full castle.
It doesn't cost a lot these days to buy a castle in Scotland, just so you know. Yeah.
But he was like,
no.
Nah?
You can buy a castle for fuck all in Scotland.
Yeah,
how much you talking?
50 grand.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's not bad, that.
Castle.
I am willing to buy a castle
in various levels of sort of ruin.
Disrepair,
but there's some. Look at properties in Scotland; it'll blow your mind.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that. But
I say we all chip in. We buy a castle. We
definitely.
Start.
Wouldn't it? I thought about a nuclear bunker.
They had a
just chip in.
I remember they had when they went
to one going down south.
Yeah,
nuclear bunker.
Yeah,
it were going cheap as well because they just raided 1.2 million grow in it. Good place to put it.
Good place to put
There's
it.
a few places with a gym. When the guys went out to Finland to compete in ADCC, they all went training in some big nuclear bunker. But yeah, sorry, carry on with the story about your granddad. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, well, he used to just say, I could have had a castle, but I thought, fuck that, I'm going to go live in Doncaster. And I was like, bullshit. But, he's an old guy or whatever. And I'm like, yeah. Anyway, and then another story. My dad, he was an amateur boxer, and he trained with Randolph Turpin, who beat Sugar Ray Robinson back in the day, and he trained for it in that fucking castle, and that's where the gym was. And I'm like, this is getting ridiculous. Yeah. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
This were off the back of because I put a status out there, like I had some guy bullshit me saying, I'm an MMA fighter, and I'm like, how many fights you had? You loads. Where's your record?
Yeah.
What's your name? Any videos?
They're like, no, they're underground fights.
Exactly, yeah.
That's what he said. I've heard that so many times. They're underground fights. You weren't allowed to video them, and our records are not live because they're underground fights.
Yes. So I put a status about that kind of thing, and just sort of saying like, in these like I can watch, boxing matches from like 1910 in black and white on YouTube. I can watch that. And
why can't I watch your fight you had 3 months ago?
Yeah. So, like off the back of that, I was like, look at this, what I found. And I actually found on like a BBC website, just searching, because I was just searching, I did the ancestry thing and found that this castle existed, and then my family did own it in Wales. And I was like, shit, and I linked it all together, and my granddad would have inherited this castle, but he did choose to leave, and then it got sold. And
he was telling the truth.
Yeah, he was telling the truth, and I was like, fuck. Like, I wonder if the shit were true about the boxing and that. So then I start researching this Randolph Turpin character. He fought Sugar Ray Robinson twice. He won one, lost one, fought for a world title, and he trained for it in a castle in Wales. And I was like, fuck, it's fucking true. So I'm on Google Images. There's images. Castle, he's skipping, he's fucking hitting a bag. They've got a bag set up in this castle.
That's
and I'm
sick.
like, sick. And then I find a fucking video of him sparring in the castle. I was like, it just blew my mind. And I'm like, I can find that.
But I can't find
you fighting
your 10 pro MMA fights that you have.
That you had in fucking
I can't find
Manchester. Yeah, I don't know if I posted it.
So go back to like yours.
I know it is somewhere.
Go to Scotland.
Yeah.
We said that as a podcast, as a collective, we're going to go to Wales at some point. Like this year, we'll go to Wales. We'll find it, and Danny can hit some bags. We'll take a bag, there. And we said we'd do a podcast from the castle.
Buy it. Find how much it is.
Sick, wouldn't it? I think that like the
because this is
Trust
by the sounds of it, it has been stolen from your family.
Exactly,
line.
I'll take it back.
I say you go in there. You go in there with swords, a suit of armor, and you tell them that it is your birthright.
Yeah.
Okay. It's all coming together.
It is your birthright to be in this castle.
Take it back. Yeah.
I'm conscious of time because the seminar's starting at 7 and it's 7 minutes past 6. What time
It's
do
all
you guys
good.
need to?
We're all right for a few minutes.
Okay.
But just randomly that's coming to my head.
Hit me.
Talking about shit like this, taking a castle back with my own birthright. Yeah. What is there's like weird laws, isn't there still?
Yeah.
Around I've heard something about Scotland.
Yeah.
There's like weird laws that never got changed. I know there's one in there's some in York as well.
There's some really weird ones in York.
I heard that you can still from the York Wall you can still fire a bow and arrow at a Scotsman and kill him and go wherever.
Yeah, stuff like that. I heard one about something about in a certain area if someone does this on a Sunday afternoon you can shoot them with an arrow.
It's
allegedly descendants of my mate's family can be shot in York as long as it's with a crossbow.
Yeah. It's mad.
Don't make enemies with people with crossbows for your family.
It's still...
if you start a fire in Her Majesty's dockyard, an oil barrel fire, you can still get hung. That's another one for you.
Yeah?
Really?
Yeah.
It's still illegal to beat your washing on a Sunday, apparently, as well.
Is that a euphemism?
Is that what you call it? We did start
the Lord's Day.
We started off this podcast with 5 fish.
Don't beat yourself.
Didn't we?
Don't beat your washing. Don't beat your washing on a
Don't beat your wife on a Sunday.
Don't be your wife.
She does my washing, so yeah.
No, there are some weird laws that are still in effect, and some laws that should be in effect. Like whenever I get a speeding ticket, I would just much prefer it if I could demand a trial by combat. I think that would be the best way to decide whether I was really going 34 in a 30.
Or just a feat of strength.
Yeah.
If you can deadlift your car, then it's cool.
Well, the stuff that they would, I was listening to something the other day, and they were saying like like they used to do crazy tests too. We're getting totally off, but this is much better than asking me where my nickname came from. They were talking about how they would try you as, they used to do weird stuff like they drown a witch. The suspected witch, and like if she drowns, then she was telling the truth, and it's unfortunate that she died. If she doesn't drown, then she's a witch, and we got to burn her or whatever. But it was they drop a piece of metal in your hand, and you've got to carry it a certain amount, and then release it. And if it heals within 3 days, you were innocent, and if it doesn't heal, then you were guilty, and like really crazy stuff like that.
Class in it.
Some
crazy
I love
shit,
mad shit like that.
Yeah. Now you need lawyers and shit.
Yeah.
way less fun.
Have you seen Monty Python? Have you ever seen Monty Python? The Holy Grail, where there's like a funny scene about a witch. He's like, she's a witch, and it's like, well, how do we know? And it's like, well, we're gonna try it. What is it now? They like compare it to. Oh, it's like we can burn a witch. No, it says we can burn a witch, so she must be made of wood. And wood floats on water, and so do ducks. So if she weighs the same as a duck, she's a witch. And they weigh her, and she's the same weight as this duck, so they just kill her. Fucking quality.
Yeah, no, there's some. That's one of the nice things about this country is that like we do have a long and weird history. If you ignore the bits where we pretty much like conquer the world and genocide a load of people, but apart from that, there's some funny laws, But I do like there is a lot of history, and I think we don't learn enough about UK history and sort of the culture that we used to have, the good parts of it anyway.
Yeah, it's good to delve back into that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
MMA, did you just say?
Yeah, fuck that. We don't need to talk about that.
Honestly, it's the worst podcast you're ever going to come on. This is every week as well.
I love it.
If you went back and looked at his previous podcast, there's no structure whatsoever.
Perfect. I'll be back on next time I'm up.
Yeah, so we'll try and finish off. We'll try and bring it back.
We spoke about some
into the realms of So
enough.
What's the future looking like for you then in terms of like competition and things like that? Like what do you want to do?
For me, life's weird at the moment, because I was traveling for a couple of months prior to starting this tour. Pretty much ever since I stopped teaching Mill Hill in end of October.
One of us should be taking a class now.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Highest level white belt, take it. It's beginner's class, isn't it?
Yeah.
Old Tim's there with his Zimmer frame, with his 4 stripes.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
But yeah, so it's been a bit weird because I was like saying to you, like, I don't know where I'm staying tomorrow, like that. So and it's quite nice in a way where I'm very much having to live in the moment.
Yeah,
I'm not organized enough not to live in the moment right now. So like, I'm gonna do this. I know what I'm doing probably for about the next 12 hours at any given point. Sometimes 8 of those 12 hours of me sleeping, and I wake up and I don't really know what I'm doing the next day. So right now it's just kind of like living life, and I'm in a different city every day, see the city, kind of explore it a little bit, try and get some training in as and when I can. But once all of this is done, this will be another 3 weeks that I'm doing this, and then I have nothing planned really. So after that, my plan is to focus on competing, focus on training, sort of get myself into a good fighting shape where I can just stay there, and I'd like to get as many competitions as I can over the next year or two. So the main goal for me is to qualify for ADCC. Obviously that's the goal for any no-gi grappler. It's the most important thing, really, any jiu-jitsu people, full stop. So goal for me is to qualify for ADCC and have some fun on the way, basically.
Cool. Yeah. Living for the now then.
Yeah, right now I don't have an option and I don't mind it.
Yeah,
it's all right.
Sweet.
That's amazing. I think I'm interested to see these the documentary or miniseries.
I'm really excited for it.
It's been good to meet you because like I can see why you've got a podcast. You're so articulate.
Thank you.
Great storyteller. So like I imagine that the footage that you'll be getting and like it'll be amazing.
Yeah, I think when it comes to that, it's something that I've wanted to do for a long time, which is to put out more content in general. Everything you do in life. Well, if you have something of moderate value, a lot of people underestimate how much value they can create. But you can live your whole life and you never put anything out and you die and then it's just memories and then they're gone. When you put out content, it really lasts a long time and it can spread with the way that the internet works now. It can spread so far, and the podcast is a really good way. And it was something that I found, like we said earlier, didn't intend for it to go anywhere. I just started it and then allow it to do what it was and just kind of be there to help it shape into whatever it wanted to be. But I've wanted to get more into video content. But I've tried videoing myself and it's very difficult to do. When I went and did the Dinny Stones last year, I brought some cameras with and gave it to my mates. I tried to film myself and it was just nothing.
That's the worst thing. Don't give it to anyone else.
Nothing came of it. So now I'm paying someone to come and follow me, and with the hope of getting good seminar footage and technique footage and getting some hopefully. I'm worried about how much it's raining. It's going to be a nightmare for me to lift stones in Scotland if it's pissing down with rain for like the whole week. But to go and talk about not just doing the lifting, but talk about the history and the culture. And I want to try and I'm just one person, but I'd like to try and create awareness for these things that are out there, because they're pretty cool.
That's amazing. I think that's the most amazing part of like the modern world that we live in now. You can curate and create this content, and you've got your own platform to release it as well. Like there's no one dictating what you can or cannot do.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
And it's the same for like this podcast. Like we've got no direction. We just sit here, talk shit for an hour and a half every week.
Yeah.
We meet new people. We create videos in the gym, everywhere. Yeah. And I think it's a good time that we're living in. I think just capitalize on it as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And TV's kind of dying a little bit now, and it's always nice where sort of that anarchy mentality and philosophy where you're taking power away from big corporations, and people are owning, there's a lot of small independent studios or even individuals who are creating their own content and keeping ownership of their content. I have another project that I've got in my head for later on this year or next year, where in the past you'd pretty much have to try and pitch that to a TV company. I might try and do that, but otherwise if they say no or I decide not to do that, you get a guy and you go and create it yourself and you put it out on YouTube. And
we created the documentary for Rico. He basically went up against the longest reigning BKB champ for a long time, didn't he? And we created. Connor, a guy, created the first documentary. I created the second one called Dethroning the King. It got really well received.
I think I've heard of that. Yeah.
It got really well received by. And we just released it on YouTube. It got like 15,000 views on this. It's only been released since 1st of January. It went out.
Wow.
People really enjoyed it, and now he's got a possible rematch. So he's going to be defending his title coming up.
Yeah.
And this were all self-funded projects. And what I've said for this second one is I put a status out today saying, look, we're going to potentially create this documentary again for his to defend his title. But I'm not paying for it again. Like if a company, you can see the reach it's got, you can see how many people are watching it.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to help fund it and come on as a partner, then that's something that you could look into as well. You know, like this project going up to Scotland and all these other things. There'll be loads of people that want to jump on board just for basically the stuff that you're putting out there and your profile. So
it's like Eddie Hall's little documentary put on. He literally just films himself, like with his phone, just like this, and then just cuts to pictures of him lifting really heavy shit.
Yeah, it's massive
fucking
nowadays.
crazy.
People, all these athletes are, exactly. All these athletes are, once you got a big profile, don't rely on other people to create your content, because then you're always or they'll have videographers who will do it, but I mean, like, don't wait for other companies to come in and film you, or TV crews to film you, but create your own content, create your own YouTube channel, put out your own stuff, get your own fans, and with people like Eddie, I remember when he started, that wasn't long ago, and now he's got millions of views on every video he puts out.
Josh Warrington, the boxer from Leeds, have you heard of him?
No.
He's a featherweight boxer, I believe, from Leeds. He's a world champion now. But they started, just a couple of videographers started filming him. Yeah. And they did like a year and realised he was obviously getting better and better, and he was going for a world title. They actually sold it to Universal, and they created an actual feature film called Fighting for a City, just based in Leeds, about him. And it got sold to Universal, and it's like a really big seller for around here and for boxing.
Amazing.
So it's just one of them things when you start, I suppose, capturing the content without knowing the direction, you can build it into something. You
never know, and that's the beauty of today, is that things can grow into anything. Yeah. And you never know where that's going to go. So
that's it. Commit to it.
Yeah, it's like Don't Fuck With Cats. He got his own Netflix series, didn't he?
We'll start with a few home movies, and he got his whole series.
Yeah, he got what he wanted, didn't he?
He did, I guess. He did.
Yeah, which is ironic, isn't it, really?
Yeah, we're the mugs in that.
Yeah,
we're the fools who have been played by him.
Yeah, that's right. She even says it at the end, doesn't she? In the last
just once they reeled us all in, then they went, "You idiots!" Yeah. they made a 3-part documentary where they're talking, and she was more, obviously she was into it more than anyone. She was living it, and she tells us this story for like 5 hours or whatever, and then right at the end she goes, "You fucking idiots! You gave him exactly what he wanted. Like, you got us. This is your fault."
Yeah. Shit.
Is that us then? Yeah, we're going to wrap it up now.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up.
Everything.
Yeah.
So where can people find you?
Find your podcast, find your YouTube channel, find your socials. Where do we go?
Luckily, I'm used to doing this at the end of my podcast, so we'll go something like this. If you want to get in contact, you can contact me. Well, for the podcast, it's podcast@raspberryape.com. Otherwise, dan@raspberryape.com. You can follow me on Instagram or Twitter, mainly Instagram, which is raspberry_ape, same for both of them. Also on Facebook, but I don't really use Facebook, but you can follow me on Facebook at Raspberry Ape as well. YouTube.com/Raspberry Ape for videos of the podcast and other videos, a few other grip training videos. A lot of people message me, how can I get in the grip training? I've got a couple of videos up there. Otherwise, I'm more than happy for people to message me on Facebook or on Instagram. What else? I have a website, which is raspberryape.com, but it's down at the moment because I can't sell things because I'm traveling. So, so if someone ordered something, then it would take a long time to come. But usually I've got a few rash guards and T-shirts and stuff on there. And if you want to listen to the podcast, then you can catch it on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, and of course on YouTube.
What a pro!
There you go.
We need to get better. Like we're a year in and we're like,
terrible.
What's your Instagram handle?
I'm a few.
Subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah. Subscribe.
So people can buy this merch. Yeah, I like this shirt.
Do you know what? I'll talk about this real quick. This is not one of mine. I got this yesterday.
All right.
There's a guy, I need to check his Instagram. His name is, I believe it is, and I won't believe, I'll check.
Double, triple check.
Yeah. It's Urban Culture, which is what I thought it was. Culture 2019 is his YouTube. Urban Culture. And he makes custom T-shirts for people. Wow. He makes the logo. £15 for the T-shirt with the customized logo.
Yeah, shit.
Right? It's quite like I'd say you got to charge 5 times more than that. Where else are you going to get? You get a T-shirt itself for £15, but you tell him what you want or give him an idea of what you want. He makes the logo. He does cool geometric shapes with the logo, and he sends you a T-shirt for £15. It's crazy.
That's smart.
So Urban Culture, and the Instagram is Culture 2019.
We'll check him out.
Yeah,
that's class.
Really cool.
Crazy.
Yeah, £15. You get a cool logo. And,
smash.
This is bad. This is bad.
Defense Lab. I want a Defense Lab T-shirt.
He'll do that, no problem.
Yeah. Sweet. Defense
Just
Bab.
don't give them the money.
I just want me on a toilet made out of small knives, drawn out of knives.
That's like Game of Thrones. Bro, you need to get that logo done. I swear down, you need to get that logo done.
If only it came from somewhere called Thorn.
Yeah.
Game of Thorns.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Any final words, Mr. Mitchell?
Don't smoke crack.
There's a seminar starting in precisely 38 minutes at AVT Leeds if you want to come and learn how to pull people's heads off. That's a euphemism, isn't it? Come learn how to pull your head off at AVT.
We pulled each other's heads off for hours.
Hashtag true story.
There you go. Thank you very much for coming on. It's been amazing.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. This is great. It's
Cheers,
great to be on a high.
Subscribe to us new YouTube.
Yeah.
Plug it.
Your YouTube?
Yeah, well, this channel's YouTube. I'm on YouTube.
Go on, plug it.
Nah, they'll figure it out. It's
Really?
all right.
Do you do it in post? You do it outro?
No, we don't do it. We're raw. We just leave it. People will figure it out.
Tell them what your YouTube is.
Well, our YouTube is All Stars Podcast. Is that right? Yeah.
YouTube.com/All Stars Podcast.
Yeah, and you can find me at /Josh Gudgeon if you want to learn about filmmaking and other fun stuff.
And I'm Danny Mitchell MMA on all platforms.
There you go.
Don't message me on Twitter though, because I don't use it. It's
Your Twitter's been shut down, mate.
Has it?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Even better.
Yeah, like it's not there anymore.
Shitter, I call it.
They got wind that you were talking shit and they closed it down. But yeah, absolute pleasure to come here and do it. And I really love your studio. Keep doing what you're doing.
Class, man. Make sure you come back through next time.
Oh, 100%. I'd love to.
Right. Let us see you at ABT in 20 minutes.
Peace.